Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. 5, 10.
Deadlights Pod.
Deadlights Pod. Welcome to the Deadlights Podcast. I'm your host, Sam.
And I am Leslie, bringing you your weekly dose of horror, everybody.
And today we have Andrew Ziemba.
Hello, everybody.
You'll hear me refer to him as Ziemba because that's what I know you as.
That is my last name.
That is his last name.
I often forget that you have a first name, to be honest.
I do.
Yeah, you're not like he's not like
don't.
Prince where he's just
Or
like
Zendaya.
or
It
Zendaya.
feels like that sometimes here. Ziemba.
It's true. It does feel like that actually. I don't mind it.
Some people call me Drew, but yeah, no Andy. Never
No.
liked Andy. You know that.
No Andy.
No Andy.
So
Don't you
no,
even think
no one
about it.
here calls you Drew, right?
Not really.
Because
No.
I have not heard that.
No.
Just
Not my job. They do though.
Oh, okay.
I see. What do they know?
So, they know something.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Ziemba,
you're
for the viewing of this movie, which I was very excited about that we picked.
He did.
Um,
I'm excited for people to see you going, yes! Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty good. It's probably going to happen during this episode as well. And what did we just watch?
What did we watch?
We watched Scream from 1996, directed by Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson. A year after the murder of her mother, a teenage girl is terrorized by a new killer who targets the girl and her friends by using horror films as part of a deadly game. So, just general things about Scream, also a couple points of why I like this movie so much, is it's definitely in the horror canon as I think a benchmark in some ways of the horror genre as kind of like an evolving point of the genre, because we have Wes Craven, who's the director, who was also the director of A Nightmare on Elm Street, which is considered one of like the main 3 slasher movies that kind of set the rules of the genre. And then 10 years later, almost 12 years later, after he kind of is like one of the forefathers of the genre, he comes back and makes a movie that is flipping the genre on its head and making fun of the genre in some way. And I love that. I love the fact that he's kind of making fun and referencing himself. So there were certain times when they were playing with our expectations and using them against us. I think that was the whole movie, using our expectations of horror movie against us. And like this whole whodunit thing is...
It's very self-aware, though, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, right? Like, you watch this movie, and it's been copied and made fun of. Scary movie, right? So many times that it's almost dark comedy watching this movie. Like, I'm not the biggest horror movie fan, but this is one of the, probably the least scary movies to watch for me because it's been made fun of so much, desensitized so much, right?
Yep, that is true.
We know Ghostface. We know these tropes. I think it's interesting, though, because, yes, this movie has been referenced and shown and talked about so much. Even still, though, when we're watching it, and I've seen it many times, I'm still tense in those scenes. Like, there's still, like, that opening scene does an incredible job of building tension. The scenes, every time that Sydney gets a call, those phone call scenes, they still do a very, very good job of building tension, even if I know the end, even if I know exactly what's happening. Why don't we just jump into it then?
Let's do it.
Let's talk about the actual filmmaking of this thing. It's funny because I wrote down a couple times that it does remind me of A Nightmare on Elm Street, another Wes Craven movie. The blues were very blue at night. The shadows were very shadowy over their faces. And he was using a lot of very classic horror tropes throughout.
What? No, I didn't see it
Didn't
at
get
all.
any of those references at all.
It didn't read to me.
No.
Well, my thing was like one of the first shots where she's on the phone and she realizes that this isn't really a prank call. The camera does the classic Dutch angle. The one thing I liked about the cinematography in this movie is how much like dolly tracking steady cam shots, like going through, and obviously later in the movie, you have, almost gets repetitive where there's so much closing of the door, getting chased, locking this, locking that, and just moving through the whole house or apartment. But that's something I really thought was like great about this movie was it wasn't dull watching the movie. Like it's very entertaining.
No, yeah.
One reason because of the cinematography.
Mm-hmm. It keeps it interesting, and you're right. That was another note I made was those shots following behind people. Very, scary. Who's following behind me? I mean, there's a movie about a stalker, so right. it makes complete sense, and it puts us on edge immediately. There's choices that he's making where he knows that us as the audience who are horror lovers, like these characters love horror, we know these shots are signals to something bad is coming. Mm-hmm. And he does that multiple times on purpose. And I can see him doing it on purpose to make us feel on edge. And then sometimes it's a fake out. It's not what we think it is.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula.
And then I think another thing that I would say is we're in the realm of, the crazy choices that horror characters make. Mm-hmm. But I actually think that the acting in this movie is pretty natural. And especially Neve Campbell, who plays the main girl, Sydney, I think she really carries it through the whole time. I think, is a pretty natural actor. And a good final girl. Like she's a good, like, take no bullshit final girl.
Mm-hmm. Oh, come on, I don't watch that shit.
Why not? Too scared?
No, it's just what's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
What I really enjoyed about this film and discovering the characters is that all of them do a different thing to try to get out of danger, and all kind of had a reason why you're just like, well, you're a piece of shit, principal. Like, you're a creep and you're wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, Harry Winkler was pretty shitty.
But Will acted really funny too. He was just making hair, sure his hair wasn't out of place.
He was probably the most ridiculously overacted character in the movie, though, right? Like there was so much extremes with him where he was being so serious, emotional, and then he had the scissors and the scenes where the two guys were the prank. And
that was uncomfortable. What are they? The Foley of that? It was like,
yes.
It was like.
That's a perfect example. It's a perfect example, though, of everyone you should suspect at a certain part of this movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, Randy screams it.
Everybody's a suspect.
There should be a moment in pretty much for every character where you're like, is it them?
Well, throughout the whole film, I was just like, it's that person.
Yeah, I think you guessed every person. I think you really did guess every person.
I guessed the flagpole as well.
The flagpole guy.
It had an American flag on it. I was like, that's it.
That's sus. That is super sus. And then you're totally right in that the whole time we're like, oh, it was you, and then it's you, and then it's you, because each character does feel like a fully fleshed out character that might have a motive to do this to Sydney. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of goes back to the writing of this, which props to Kevin Williamson, who then went on to make Dawson's Creek and a bunch of teen movies. So he was the voice of teens in the 90s, I guess.
Okay.
Teen angst.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. But I think he does a really good job of making these teenagers somewhat believable.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. For instance, number 1, you can never have sex. Big no-no!
And then this whole idea of kids taking the idea of horror movies to a new extreme kind of does seem somewhat realistic too. Kids would take what they see in movies.
The main character towards the end, when she's seen the two motherfuckers stabbing each other, she's like, you sick fucks, you guys have seen so many scary movies.
Mm-hmm. Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
that's the conversation, you know, people tend to have when discussing these horror movies. Yeah, you're seeing a lot of shitty things, but it's not quite the movies that are doing that. It's just the fact that you already had a desire and a fantasy.
I think that perfectly transitions us into the meat. Carne.
Making tacos out of this meat.
F yes. Because this movie is asking that question of how do horror movies affect people, and specifically kids? You know, kids growing up watching horror movies, what are the long-term effects of us seeing Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers and these insane killers running around? Can that lead to someone killing someone? But what's interesting also about how they present it is we have the two killers at the end, who's Billy Loomis and Stu Macher, I think. They set up that there is no motive. You know, it's scarier when there's no motive. You know, and I think that Stu is kind of that representation. He really doesn't have a motive. He just loves scary movies, and he feels like he wants to be the star of his own scary movie. But then we have Billy, who says he has no motive, but it actually is coming from a place of deep resentment.
Your slut mother was fucking my father. And she's the reason my mom moved out and abandoned me.
So he can say that he can blame scary movies all day, but in the end,
he had personal motive.
Yeah.
Personal trauma and personal vendetta against Sydney. But it probably was a response to groups being like, horror movies are terrible, or like whole like group of like video games are terrible. You know,
that generation with the like Gen X growing up in the 90s being like teenagers and 20 like that, they grew up watching those classic 70s and 80s horror movies,
and we got to get rid of them because we don't know what's doing to our children. And this is it.
Games are coming up.
This is it. They go from being really drunk from a party to getting in a car, absolutely going wild because their principal just got murdered and displayed.
Let's go watch him pull him down.
They found Principal Henry dead. He was gutted and hung from the goalpost on the football field.
What are we waiting for? Let's go over there before they pry him down.
Hey!
And it's like almost every kid in this town seems like they're obsessed with horror and death. But that kind of seems like that's what Wes Craven was going for. He was like, let's make every single kid in this movie super obsessed with horror, because that's what these people who want to get rid of horror think is going on. I mean, I think let's talk about that a little bit. Let's get to the cook.
Yeah.
And see how they're actually cooking up these things.
Wow, I'm excited. Yeah.
Because you're right. Like a lot of these scenes are direct representations of scenes that we've already seen before in horror. And I mean, the first opening scene with Drew Barrymore, I think, is like, it's like chock full of references.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I already talked about like the coloring of it and how they're moving the camera, but also some of the shots too. Like there's, when we first see the reveal of Ghostface, it's like this face to face that Drew Barrymore is with him in the mirror. And I know for a fact that there's a shot like that in, I think, Halloween 2, where it's Jamie Lee Curtis face to face with Michael Myers between a glass. So there's like legit exact shot references. And then the idea of it, you know, like a babysitter or a girl home alone being stalked by somebody and eventually gets killed.
I mean, I also like just the thought that went into her making popcorn so then it can burn, fog up the house, and have those beautiful scenes of it just like, you know, what you would get in a forest, but like in your own home. And when someone infiltrates your safe space, that is just even more scary. Obviously, you know, don't go into the woods. You don't know what's out there. But in your home, like...
You should be safe, right? If you locked all the doors.
Yeah. And I love like how that motherfucker just threw the chair and then just got in like that. Yeah. It's so rough.
It's rough. And it's like, that's horrifying.
Like rough as in like...
He's rough.
Obviously a teenager's going to do that.
Right. No, it's funny because how he makes decisions, how the killer makes movements, how he moves and does stuff like that, it feels very much like you're a dumb kid. Yeah. But it also kind of makes it scarier because you're like, holy shit, this guy could just like do anything. He's like up for anything.
Well, also they were getting tossed around, you know? So they would go and rush and then get like flipped over. And that's why I kind of wanted it to be Dewey because that motherfucker was so dumb. And yeah, he would
be kind of that doofy. I mean, his name's Dewey, almost doofy. But you're right. That's who you expect. And that I think does go back to the cook in a way because we're talking about a whodunit, you know, how they laid out the story and who is the murderer. And like I already said, like every character, there's a moment where we're like, this could be you. And Dewey, I think, is a great example of someone who starts off, you know, really weak character, you know, dumb cop, not respected even as a cop within the cops.
God damn it, Dewey.
What did Mama tell you? When I wear this badge, you treat me like a man of the law.
So you can see like why he would have motive to do this. He can be like getting reparations for like all the shit that he's taken. Yeah, I can be the strong killer. I'm going to prove. But then he isn't the killer and he becomes more of like the underdog hero. You know, he is the only cop that actually is getting in there and trying to protect Sydney and these other kids.
Don't worry, Sid. We'll find him.
What I really liked about his character, and I think this scene just kind of really wrapped how much of a kid he still is.
Immaturity there.
Yeah, that the cop went back to smoking cigarettes because he's stressed. And then how does Dewey take his edge off? By going and getting an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
And honestly, yeah, me too, Dewey.
Childhood.
Yeah. You know, yeah.
Nostalgia, yeah.
But the way he was just attacking it, he would just be like,
yeah. Well, even the sheriff who's like you could tell how stressed, but it was so overplayed of like overacts like, oh, this kid's
they're making me go back.
Bad mom to quit smoking cigarettes. You know?
And the dude's like, yeah.
It gives him kind of an in too. Dewey like being somewhat childish. I mean, they let him in the party. Like he's like, it's like no one is like blinking an eye when he's at the party because he is the older brother of Tatum, who's like, you know,
he was
okay with underage drinking. You know,
yeah, he's like the cool cop.
Well, the thing is, he's the one that bought the drinks.
That's true.
And then he comes in and he's like, hey, I'm the one that bought it.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, he's a cool cop.
Do you know what that constellation is?
No, what is it?
I don't know. That's why I was asking you.
The town sucks.
Woodsboro.
Oh, God, yeah.
This place sucks, or at least all the teenagers do, because they're all talking about our main character.
Yeah. And her mom.
And saying really hurtful things.
Only a year ago, Maureen Prescott, wife and mother, was found raped and murdered not far from this peaceful town square.
Cotton Weary is currently awaiting appeal for the death sentence handed down after the young Sidney testified against him.
Maybe she's a slut, just like her mother. You're evil. Please. It's a common fact. Her mother was a tramp.
I mean, that kind of goes back to the like small town, like no secret is safe kind of thing. Everyone's talking. Even at one point, her best friend is questioning her about it. She's like, don't you think your mom like maybe brought it on herself?
Your dad was always out of town on business. Maybe your mom was just a very unhappy woman. There's been talk about other men. And you believe it? Well, I mean, you can only hear that Richard Gere gerbil story so many times before you have to start believing it.
And obviously, like, that was a part of her character in this movie. She is dealing still with the trauma of her mother's death. And, I mean, yeah, Gail Weathers cashed in on her mom's story. The whole town is talking about how her mom slept around.
She wrote a book, or she's writing a book, and she's about to publish it. What a bitch. Why did she survive at the end?
But when I say hurry, please interpret that as move your fat tub of lard ass now!
It is kind of interesting. I always find that layer of the movie interesting, that there is such like this heavy backstory that Sidney has. But yeah, it kind of takes this like classic horror movie and like really just like, wow, okay, yeah, this is like some dark shit that she's dealing with.
Really dark.
This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life for one last scare.
Not in my movie.
All right, well, let's talk about the bad guy. Let's get to the thrill. Let's talk about Ghostface a little bit, because
is that its actual name?
That's how he's referenced now.
Okay, cool.
I don't think he was actually referenced like that in the credits or anything, but now he is typically called Ghostface, because there's almost like two things about him. I mean, we have the physical Ghostface who's running around actually killing people, but then we have this phone call Ghostface side where it's just his voice and it's the things that he says and how he says it that becomes creepy. And again, that first scene I think does a great job of introducing us to the voice and the physical Ghostface. The voice to me is like kind of an inviting voice, a very disarming kind of voice.
Also creepy at the same time.
Yes.
Like it's a very attractive voice, but at the same time it's like there is that undertone of like very creepy. You know, it's very like, how you doing? Hey.
Kind of smoky, raspy.
Stop it. You're going to like absolutely enchant our listeners.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, ooh.
What kind of movies do you like? There's that tonal like where it's like starts off where he's very much like, hey, I think I got the right number.
Well, the girls are flirting back.
Right. There's that sexiness in the voice, but at the same time it goes from like that to being like, shut the fuck up, bitch. You know, it's like one of those like holy, like it goes to another level of like now it's serious, and obviously the camera and the music and everything amps that up too.
Yeah.
It makes him scary.
That's half the character though, isn't it? Like,
it is.
Doing the voice and you're like, okay.
And it plays on that idea of, and this is very much a part of how he scares people, is where is he?
Yeah.
You know, you hear his voice. I see you, Blondie. You know, like it's clear he is watching you. You have no idea where he is.
Not all the time though, because you have Nev Campbell's character out on the deck, and she's like, you know, picking her nose, and she asked him, and obviously you're like, okay, but he can't see her maybe because he never answers the fact that she's doing that. So she was kind of wise to being like, okay, you can actually see me. Because nobody else really did that. They're all just like,
oh my God. Oh my
like
God.
not really taking it seriously. But she
more
has,
clever.
and she has a past, I think, too, that has taught her you gotta be a little more on your toes than most people think.
Right.
If you hang up on me, you'll die just like your mother. Do you want to die, Sydney?
Who are you?
Don't worry. You'll find out soon enough. I promise.
Surprise, Sydney.
Obviously, they're psychopaths.
They're psychopaths.
they're
There's very little motive.
And they're like,
yeah.
oh, yeah, like they're obsessed with horror movies. Because Jamie Kennedy's character is like, he does that where he's like, these are the rules. Like he's wise to the structure of horror movies, right?
Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
I just love the scene of Randy watching Halloween, talking to Jamie Lee Curtis, being like, turn around, Jamie, turn around. And then the killer's right behind him, and his name is Jamie Kennedy. Like, it's just like so many layers of self-awareness.
Look behind you. Turn around. Behind you. Oh, turn. Behind you. Behind you.
I lost all control when they're stabbing each other. And then he was like, stop it.
You're going a little too far, man.
You're going
it's too much.
He's like, I'm getting wheezy, man.
I've been Billy with you, all right? I can't take any more. I'm feeling a little woozy here.
Yeah, Matthew Lillard in this movie is like fucking crazy, man. He's so
fantastic.
off the walls.
He's so good.
It's funny because I've seen interviews with him talking about this movie, and he's like, what the fuck was Wes Craven letting me do? He thinks his performance, he like thinks it's like so overdone and so overplayed, and he watches and he's like, what was I even thinking?
I mean, yes, he is. But
Yeah.
that's the whole thing about this. And also he goes, he's off the rails. He's absolutely cuckoo bananas.
And he commits to that like intensity the whole time.
So we're gonna carry on and plan the sequel, because let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel. You're gonna love this one. It's a Scream, baby. Hold on a sec. I'll be right back. Did you really call the police?
You bet your sorry ass I did.
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad.
And then Ghostface physical form is pretty funny. I do love how Ghostface runs into scenes, just like busts in, will fall over shit, he'll flip over things. He's pretty
through the house.
He's pretty clumsy.
Very clumsy.
He's trying to get through the door. Gets his hand in the door with the knife, and it's like that's the thing about this movie that becomes kind of overdone or cheesy or campy or whatever you want to say. Is like there's so many scenes. It almost reminds me of Evil Dead 2, where he's going through the cabin, but there's like way too much rooms, like it's overdone.
The doors,
it's like tracking,
yeah,
and it feels that way where it's like you're going through his house with this guy trying to get you, but he almost got him. Come on, here, with the knife and everything. Yeah.
And it somehow works. Like, the overplayedness of his movements somehow works. Even though it is so obviously ridiculous.
Maybe he can't see very well through the mask, and it's like, come on, And then he's always falling over, getting hit. And you're like, okay, the person's got him, like they can get out. And one of the most ridiculous scenes was the garage scene, which is obviously spoofed and scary movie.
What I want to mention too is how, I'm pretty sure when you make a successful movie and you start seeing that your characters are being used as costumes for Halloween, obviously you're going to incorporate that into a movie the next time. It's great marketing. And I just applaud them when I didn't know that there was a scene like that where they're like, oh yeah, it's a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
And now
anybody.
it is.
You can buy this at any Halloween store.
My little brother was Ghostface with the blood that like drips down.
Oh,
He had like the heart.
Yeah.
Great
so
costume.
Cool. Yeah.
Definitely overdone. I mean, growing up as a kid of the 90s, that was the thing. Like, I remember going trick-or-treating. And, like,
everyone.
You'd see so many of those. And I never watched the movie as a kid, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But you would see that. So, like, watching the movie later, you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Because that was 1996. Like, I was, like, 7 years old. And that it stayed. It's still.
It's here.
Like, it's still there, and it's not going away. Like kids still wear that costume.
Oh yeah, for sure. And especially now with Scream continuing.
Yeah.
And we've brought it back, and it's been resurrected.
We did.
Scream 6. We did it. Scream 6 just came out, so it's like it continues to go, and they probably were referencing like all the Michael Myers costumes that were running around at that time. So. You're right. It's funny because them making fun of the marketing of horror movies then became a massive marketing thing for them.
Massive.
Yeah.
And
pretty
simple.
Genius.
Very, very easy to wear.
Mm-hmm.
You just have the dress hood thing over and the mask. That's it.
Like
and the gloves.
Cape,
oh, and the
get a
fucking
fake
hunter's knife.
Like the Rambo knife. Yeah.
Damn.
Fucking so big.
Big ass knife.
Hey, knife.
I'm here to kill ya.
Yeah, way over.
Bow staff.
Like scary.
All right. Well, let's talk about the overall ride of Scream. Beep beep.
Beep beep.
Coming in. I mean, for me, it's always fun. We all know this. We came into this episode knowing that I really like this movie. So I'm more curious to
cut to the clip of you fucking cheering.
Yes. So I'm more curious to hear your two's opinions about the overall ride, because you had never seen this all the way through, and either had you.
No.
So
no.
Tell me
I
your
remember
thoughts.
watching it years ago. So when it got near the end, I'm like, okay. And then I think in the third, or one of them later on, they like pretty much do the same ending where it's like the surprise, where it's more than one killer. It's not just one killer. It's like a group of people that are in on it the whole time. You're like, okay. And then they do like, we're coming at you and we're explaining. It's like always a horror movie where they have the main villain like explain their motive at the end, but they're like before, like they never just kill the person. They got to be like, let me tell you why I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to give you time to get the fuck out of here and escape. I enjoyed this movie. I definitely like watching it now. I can tell how many movies now are referencing that movie. Not just obviously Scary Movie, but like watching Get Out. I remember watching Get Out a few years ago, and it's like the cinematography very much reminds me of that. Like the colors and just the shadows. You know, there's some cheesiness there too. I remember watching the trailer and I was like, this seems like kind of almost like a campy, and it's not campy, but it comes off the aesthetic until you actually watch the movie.
Well, we just recently watched a film called There's Someone Inside Your House.
Yes.
Oh my God, did it want to be Scream so bad?
It is the exact
down to the T of, you know, we have similar characters. But you know, Gen Z-ified.
Yes.
It's like a newer generation.
We're not saying Gen Z as in like it's a bad thing, but it was definitely
it's a new
of like
generation Scream,
it is
yes.
yes.
It's a
But
text message instead of a phone call or something.
Yeah. You're so
Pretty
right.
much,
it was
yeah.
memes and
was.
shit. And it I think wasn't as successful, or maybe it was because I keep bringing it up. But no, it's no. But it's just missing that element. I think what makes Scario Scar movie. Wait, scary
movies, right?
No, this film. What is it?
Scream.
It's a Scream, baby.
Yeah, it's not the same. And in this movie, I think just like the charm of it was that it just didn't allow itself to go there.
Yeah.
And it was trying to be more of that kind of like vengeful whodunit, but you can kind of tell.
Is it predictable?
You know, it's very predictable.
We were calling the scenes. Yeah. We were calling every single scene, and it felt like that. And I think I said it during the episode that movie was Scream without everything that makes Scream good.
Okay. So, and I didn't know the reference.
Right.
And I agree now.
Yes. And even down to the fucking poster. The poster of...
It's a rip-off of Scream?
Yeah, it's a rip-off of Scream. Like, I'll do a side-by-side right now, and you can see they're trying to be Scream so hard. And you're right, it just doesn't work because they're trying to be serious about it, and we know exactly what's coming.
It's predictable.
It's just predictable.
It's a rip-off.
It's a rip-off, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the thing is, this feels like a rip-off because it doesn't lend into, hey, we are a scary movie that loves scary movies, and here's every reference that we're going to put it, and we're going to call it out. This one didn't, and we're like, well, but we've seen this. Right. Why are you spending time making a very similar movie?
Yeah.
If they watch Prom Night, they'd save time. There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
So go see it. I did say go see it in that episode, but what I will say is definitely go see Scream because that movie fucking rocks. Let's get to these Smash Pumpkin ratings.
Yeah, it sounds like...
I like this movie.
Yeah, I mean, you wanna.
Should I go first?
Just go for it. It's not gonna shock me.
It's not gonna shock anybody. 5.
Of course.
It's a 5-er, of course. This is one of my favorite scary movies just in general. So I have to give it 5 Smash Pumpkins. I mean, I think everyone knows why I give it 5 Smash Pumpkins. So that's it. Ziemba?
I would definitely say a 4.5.
4.5.
It's not a perfect horror movie by any means. It's not, you know, classic to me. I mean, it definitely falls in that genre of like a great kind of darker comedy horror movie. It's definitely like a little bit more, it's an easy watch compared to now horror movies who've literally, movies now coming out are so intensely dark and scary. Like they keep pushing the envelope, and this is just more campy. Definitely a great popcorn movie. Definitely, it'd be a great date movie too. It's one of those things where it's like it's an easy watch. So that's why I wouldn't give it a 5, just because I don't feel like it's, you know, completely perfect movie. But for what it's trying to do, it's a very, very entertaining movie. Something that I'll definitely watch probably next 5 years or something.
Hell yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. I definitely am glad I watched it, and yeah.
4.5 ain't nothing to blink at. That's a good rating.
No, and actually, that's exactly where I was going to put this movie as well. Yeah, I liked it more than I thought I would, because of the elements of that underlining of comedy. It's not just a slasher film that I was, you know, afraid of it being that, and it's not. And I can see how then from this, we're getting more subgenres. I know so many people that are they're huge fans of Scream, and they went to go and see the 6th one, and with groups of people. So, it has a following that it's still very relevant.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what I will say, because I know obviously this episode we're reviewing just Scream from 1996, but what I do want to say about the Scream franchise in general is I think it's a very smart franchise in the way of every single film in the Scream is directly responding to the state of horror at that time. So if you go back and you watch number 2 and number 3, they very much are talking about sequels, horror, and they directly talk about that. And then the third one, they talk about trilogies, you know? So, and then now in the most recent ones, they're making fun of remakes and quote unquote requels. So no matter what, the Scream franchise has stayed true to
It's meta.
Being meta and loving horror in general. It's always made, it feels like it's made by people who really, really love this genre. So that's something that I just wanted to say about the franchise in general, that kind of separates it from other horror franchises. And I have not seen the 6th one yet, but I'm excited to check it out. But wow, Scream.
Wow.
1996. Glad we got it in.
Yeah.
Dang, season 2 is we're getting some heavy hitters in this one.
I mean, you really wanted this film.
I wanted this one. I wanted Hellraiser. I got both of those. I didn't want There's Someone Inside Your House, but we got that.
I mean, yep.
I'm sorry.
Can I say that watching It Follows, it's one of those things that this movie, it reminds me of that as well, or vice versa. I would say It Follows has that Scream element, like that same kind of cinematography and feel, like music and tone. And whereas The Parents, you know, it's one of those things. It's like teenager movie. Obviously, there's a lot of like different style of horror movie, but there's also the like going through the house trying to escape kind of vibe.
There's always you're not safe. You're not safe, not even in your own home.
And we talked about it in that It Follows episode directly about how that movie is taken from the classics. Yes. But let us see what we're going to pick for next week. And Ziemba, as the guest, you get to pick it out. So go in there. Oh, okay. Just right on top. Ooh. So read the log line first. We're going to try to guess what movie it is.
So the log line is a legendary tale of a barber who returns from a wonderful imprisonment in 1840s
I love this movie.
London. But on revenge for the rape and death of his wife. He resembles his trade while forming a sinister partnership with a fellow tenant, Mrs. Lovett.
This is Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd, baby.
I've never seen it.
Oh, man. Speaking of Johnny Depp.
I know, right?
The demon barber of Fleet Street.
I've actually never watched this movie.
Really?
One of my best friends in high school had the poster of this.
Adam loves the musicals.
That's something I know. It's like a musical horror. It's a Tim Burton movie, so it's definitely it's dark. I know that.
Johnny Depp, Helen Bonham Carter, Sacha Baron Cohen.
His 2 favorite people.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Wow, our first musical of the podcast.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is true.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Ziemba, thank you so much for joining us in the Deadlight space. Please plug yourself. Where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram under my own name, Andrew Chase Ziemba, which I guess you'll put something
right there, right in front of you. There it is.
Do a lot of, Polaroid
photography.
So
yeah, definitely check out the Ziemba's photography. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. He took really great pictures of us.
Oh, you did?
Very
yeah.
great.
Yep. We got some on our Instagram. It was fun.
You can follow me on Color Me Leslie.
And me at BP Richie T, and us at the Deadlights Pod. Also check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we're recording this from. But until next time, let's get spooky. Ooh, we're spooky. What's your favorite scary movie, Ziemba?